Yharnam is a cursed city, a sprawling 19th century metropolis writhing in the grip of a terrifying infection. Those few citizens who still cling to their humanity barricade their homes against the onslaught of an endless night that cloaks the infected in relentless shadow. Beasts that were once men stalk the darkened streets, and only the hunters stand against them, fighting for the people of Yharnam as their own humanity dwindles to embers. Such is the setting of Bloodborne, an action horror Souls game that pits you as a hunter trapped within the doomed city. Only by finding and stemming the source of the infection can you hope to save Yharnam and yourself from the jaws of hell. In between sojourns to the blood-slicked streets and gloomy Undercity, you'll awaken in a never-ending dream that may or may not be real, where you can spend the echoes of your enemy's blood to bolster your strength, or repair and fortify your brutal weaponry. The story isn't laid out immediately, and every tiny scrap of exposition you find only creates more questions. This is typical of From Software now, and it's easy to get swept along by the action and create your own narrative in your head. You won't find out immediately why your character came to Yharnam for a blood transfusion, or why said procedure plunged them into such a horrific nightmare. More so than even Demon Souls, Bloodborne is very horror-focused, going out of its way to unsettle and unnerve you, and much of that is owed to your own imagination. As gritty and gripping as the setting undoubtedly is, this is essentially Dark Souls 3, or maybe Demon Souls 2. We should really get that out of the way and make peace with it. Bloodborne borrows its mechanics wholesale from its spiritual siblings, and although it twists several of them to its own purposes, many of the gameplay tropes here will be familiar to series fans. Indeed, the biggest indicator that you're playing a From game is, of course, the difficulty. Bloodborne is fiendish, even evil at times, and unapologetically punishing. And there's a confidence to it all now, even more so than you may have sensed while playing Dark Souls 2. They know their audience, they know what we can take, and they know what we expect, and they know what they can do. At times, Bloodborne almost feels like a controlled experiment of sorts as expectations are played with, and they push against the already established boundaries. For example, while the core combat feels instantly familiar to series veterans, there is no dedicated block action. Although makeshift shields exist, hunters don't tend to use them, and instead the onus is on attack and evasion, leading to slicker, more immediate and brutal combat. Every blow lands with a wet, sickening crunch as you leap, roll, sidestep and swing, creating a heavy-footed ballet of bloody violence that leaves you covered head to toe in gleaming viscera. It's all facilitated by the weapon setup. In place of a shield, your hunter can equip various ranged weapons with which to damage and stun attacking enemies. Once staggered, enemies, even bosses, can be either dispatched or decimated with a follow-up attack. It's a similar setup to the backstab in that it requires patience and timing to pull it off. Tapping L1 will extend your melee weapon, giving you greater reach at the expense of speed, and in some occasions your offhand, while light and heavy attacks are mapped to R1 and R2 respectively. It takes time to master the combat, but success is often a case of preempting your opponent and acting accordingly. If you do take a hit, quick reactions will allow you to recoup some of the blood you lost from the foe that took it. This regain system is not usually enough to fully heal you, but it may save your life. Conversely, you can sacrifice a small amount of health to give yourself 5 blood bullets if you find yourself clicking an empty chamber. During a boss encounter, this can be the difference between life and death. The confidence is never more clear than in the insight system. This new stat replaces your humanity, and every point you earn increases your hunter's ability to see the supernatural. The first point you earn reanimates a doll in the hunter's dream, allowing you to level up, but the higher your insight, the more you'll see. Secrets will be revealed, enemies will change, the world will evolve in small ways. Killing foes earns you blood echoes as opposed to souls, which are used to level up and buy gear. Death will see you leave all your echoes behind, and you must return to the scene to recover them. The main difference here is that now and then an enemy will pick them up and wander off with them. If you see a beast with glowing white eyes, it's got your echoes. There's no going hollow here, but death will return you to your last lantern save point and respawn all the enemies apart from bosses. Estus flasks are replaced by blood vials, of which you can carry 20 to begin with. Bloodborne may be a harsh mistress, but she's mostly fair. Mostly. One thing that makes Bloodborne seem more balanced is the lack of hollowing. Without it, all you stand to lose by dying is your stock of echoes. But since you can't farm enemies out as in Dark Souls 2, and because you can buy an item to return you echoes intact to your last lantern, it's slightly easier to make progress. That said, repeated deaths during boss fights can become annoying because you must manually replace your quicksilver bullets and blood vials. You're occasionally forced to go farming, grinding on easy grunts for some quick echoes and loot drops. The relatively fast pace of looping boss fights until you win is lost here, and it can feel like something of a chore. Lesser enemies are tightly packed but yield low blood rewards, and it can take a while to replenish your gear. A storage chest goes some way towards alleviating this, but you won't often find yourself with the spares to store. Graphically, Bloodborne is stunning to the naked eye, although closer inspection will reveal an occasionally stuttering frame rate and some odd corpse physics. It's nothing terribly troubling, but it is noticeable despite the rich world on show. But atmosphere drips from every grimy gargoyle, ripples in every filthy puddle, flickers in the half-light of every guttering torch. Shadows crawl across sweating walls and make horrific beasts from harmless statues. Yharnam is an evil, malicious place, even in its majesty, and its gothic grandeur has rarely been equalled. Where Drangleic had Majula to reassure you that the sun still rises, Yharnam has only its endless night to remind you that you are just as helpless as the rest. And the wonderful atmosphere extends through the sound direction and scripting. No one in the city trusts you, just as you should be wary of trusting them, but it does go beyond that. There's rarely a moment that you can't hear a groan, growl, manic laugh or distant scream. Maybe just the howl of the wind through the litter-strewn alleys or someone quietly sobbing. Played with a decent set of headphones, it's positively chilling at times. Interestingly, it's also been optimised for remote play on the Vita, and while you lose some of the ambiance and the target lock is relegated to the rear touchpad, it works very well. While it's certainly no great revolution, Bloodborne is further evidence that From Software are true masters of their game design. The city is vast, but as you progress you'll open up shortcuts, lifts, ladders, hidden gates and, of course, lanterns, and you'll never need a map to find your way around. Quite how they managed to make something so complex feel so straightforward is way beyond me. The fact you can save and exit anywhere and resume where you left off is a welcome change, so if you must stop halfway through a tough area to take a break, you won't have to begin it again. Bloodborne is an immensely intricate and tightly designed game that arguably surpasses what From have produced before, thanks to a handful of new ideas and tweaked mechanics. A system that promotes repetition to refill your consumables, and a difficulty that encourages level grinding in the opening few areas, and at various intervals throughout, feel like minor missteps, but they're tiny ones at that. Despite a few minor performance issues, Bloodborne is an epic, compelling, heart-pounding triumph.